Headlines claim India is turning its back on Russia. The stakes involve the future of Asian security and the reliability of global arms markets. This narrative misses the point entirely. You will learn that this shift is not about morality or friendship, but a cold mathematical calculation on supply chain survivability and the desperate need for high-end technology that Moscow can no longer guarantee. Consider the data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. Between 2011 and 2015, Russia supplied 70% of India's major arms imports. By the period from 2021 to 2025, that share had plummeted to 40%. In the same window, France surged from a mere 1.5% to 29%. This is not a sudden betrayal driven by diplomatic pressure or moral outrage. It is a calculated migration away from a failing supply chain toward a more reliable one. The driving force is not ideology, but the harsh reality of logistics and the specific architecture of modern warfare. To understand why this matters, you must look at the hardware itself. Indian Air Forces operate thousands of Soviet-era aircraft, including the Su-30 MKI and T-90 tanks. These systems run on legacy MIL-STD bus architectures that are fundamentally incompatible with modern Western standards. When India acquires French Rafale jets or SAMP-T air defense systems, they are not just buying new metal. They are migrating to encrypted, open architecture data links that cannot talk to Russian equipment without a complete system replacement. This creates a permanent interoperability barrier. A return to Russian supply chains becomes technically impossible for these new systems without scrapping the entire platform. The narrative around Operation Sindoor often suggests a specific military engagement where French missiles were used against Pakistan. However, verified records do not support this specific operational detail. The reality is more nuanced. The shift is driven by the failure mode of the existing Russian supply chain. Maintenance and spare parts delivery times have become unpredictable, especially after the invasion of Ukraine. When a high-readiness unit needs a critical component, Moscow can no longer guarantee the timeline. This forces India to adopt a dual-track logistics architecture. French systems are prioritized for elite units to ensure survivability against future blockades, while legacy Russian hardware remains in service for lower-priority roles. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. This transition represents a strategic hedge against future sanctions. Russian defense exports operate under a conditional regime where Moscow can exert geopolitical leverage during crises. French exports, by contrast, operate under strict no-strings, attached export control regimes. This effectively insulates India's defense supply chain from the kind of pressure Moscow can apply. The goal is to secure the source of truth for software updates and firmware patches. Russia can no longer guarantee these updates due to its own isolation, whereas French contractors provide a reliable, audited supply chain for critical software dependencies. Now consider the technical implications of this migration. Adopting French technology necessitates a complete overhaul of India's software-defined radio and avionics stack. The move away from the Soviet legacy codebase to Western standards creates a permanent interoperability barrier. This means Russian equipment becomes obsolete for future joint operations or rapid rearmament scenarios. The mathematical reality is that you cannot mix and match these ecosystems indefinitely. The cost of maintaining two incompatible standards is too high for a nation facing complex security challenges. The shift also involves a move towards self-reliance. French contractor MBDA has established local maintenance capabilities for Mica missiles in India. The integration of the Osram missile into the Tejas Mk1A fleet signals a pivot toward high-tech ecosystems that are not dependent on foreign approval for every software update. This is not just about buying weapons. It is about building a domestic industrial base that can sustain itself under pressure. The French model emphasizes technology license transfers, allowing India to eventually produce these systems domestically. This reduces the long-term dependency on any single foreign power. There is a significant trade-off in this transition. India's deep-rooted infrastructure for Russian legacy systems creates a production bottleneck. A complete abandonment of Russian hardware is logistically impossible in the short term. The nation must manage a gradual, calculated diversification. They are not abandoning Russia out of spite. They are diversifying to ensure that their defense capabilities do not hinge on a single supplier who is themselves under sanctions. This is a classic risk management strategy applied to national security. The underlying incentive is clear. States behave according to their survival needs, not their friendships. India is executing a cold calculation to ensure its military remains functional in a world where supply chains can be severed at a moment's notice. The shift to France is a hedge against the uncertainty of the future. It is about securing high-end technology and ensuring that spare parts are available when they are needed most. The narrative of moral alignment is a distraction from the real story of supply chain survivability. This approach also addresses the issue of software security. Modern warfare is fought as much in the digital domain as on the battlefield. If the source code for your missile guidance system is controlled by a state that is under international isolation, you face a vulnerability. French contractors provide a reliable, audited supply chain for these critical dependencies. This ensures that the software updates required to patch vulnerabilities or improve performance are delivered without political strings attached. It is a matter of maintaining operational independence in an increasingly fragmented global order. The data supports a gradual, calculated diversification for survivability. The numbers tell the story of a nation preparing for a future where it cannot rely on old alliances. The shift from Russian to French platforms represents a critical architectural migration. It is a move from legacy Soviet systems to modern, encrypted networks that are inherently incompatible with Moscow's hardware. This makes a return to Russian supply chains technically impossible for these new systems without total system replacement. The path forward is clear, even if the transition is slow. The strategic hedge against sanctions is not merely about purchasing new hardware. It is about securing the source of truth for software updates and firmware patches. Russia can no longer guarantee these updates due to its own isolation, whereas French contractors provide a reliable, audited supply chain for critical software dependencies. This ensures that India's defense capabilities remain robust and independent, regardless of the geopolitical climate. The calculation is simple. Diversification reduces risk. Dependence increases vulnerability. India has chosen to reduce its vulnerability. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.